What's going on, team? It's your boy, Zach Evanesh, Strong Life Podcast, episode 358. And in about 5 to 10 minutes, my buddy Brian Bott will be jumping in with me to answer some of these questions. I just did a recent podcast with Brian. That was our second round, Sports AdvantEdge, out in Wisconsin, multiple locations. The guy's a savage. I love what he's doing. He was also recently on the West Side Barbell podcast. So be on the lookout for that, as Tom Barry interviewed him, and I'm excited. So a couple of things I want to address. I've addressed them a little bit through my Strong Life newsletter, which you could get on for free at zachstrength.com, Z-A-C-H, strength.com. And before we do the Q&A, something that's really like ruffling my feathers, getting me fired up, is the problem with great customer care, great customer service. Simply delivering a product that you say you're going to deliver. And so as a small business owner, I've seen, like, if somebody has like I don't want to say a bad experience, but like a mishap, right, at the underground strength gym, it rarely happens, but let's say one time they don't get a good experience, bang, that's it. It's over. They want to burn down the underground strength gym. But there's a saying out there, like, a small business makes a mistake, you get motherfucked up and down on Yelp or whatever, but McDonald's can fuck up your order 20 times and you're going to keep going back there. Obviously, I don't eat at McDonald's, but I thought it was a great analogy and also a little bit heartbreaking. And so not long ago, it was Super Bowl weekend, actually. My family was away. They had time to get away. I could not. And my wife has us set up with a heating and air conditioning company, and big name company, which I really wasn't a fan of. And they set us up, or my wife signed us up for this, I guess, like customer care package, where they come in, they do like a checkup on your heating and air conditioning system. And if something's wrong, they're going to tell you something's wrong. Well, they came and did a checkup. And after they did the checkup, suddenly the heat doesn't work as good as it once did. So my wife calls them back, sets up an appointment. The appointment is made for when my family was going to be away. So it was a Friday afternoon / evening from 5 to 8 p.m. I'm home Friday from 5 to 8 p.m. Nobody shows up. Nobody calls. I call and they tell me, "Oh, we're so sorry. We couldn't get anybody out there." I'm like, well, it's the year 2023. Did anybody want to pick up a phone and tell me this and give me any advance notice? They're like, "We're so sorry. We will do it tomorrow." I said, "All right, tomorrow I have to hit the road." I was picking up my meats from Tussock's Edge Farm, so I was going to Pennsylvania, 90 minutes each way, plus picked up some extra ammo, which is very good prices in Pennsylvania. And so they came up with the time. I said we could do from 12 p.m. until 2 p.m. and said, okay, that works. So I get home at like 11:15. I take the cooler, I bring it down to the basement to load up the freezer. And so I don't hear what's going on upstairs. And the guy must have gotten there around 11:30, rings the doorbell once or twice, and just leaves. And I don't know that. So I'm there and it's 2 o'clock. So I call and I say, "Listen, I can't really hang around. I have plans for the evening." I said between 12 and 2. They're like, "Oh yeah, somebody was there." I'm like, "Somebody was there? Nobody called." And they're like, "Yeah, do you have dogs?" "Yes, I have dogs." They said, "Oh, the guy said that he rang the doorbell and the dogs were going crazy." Okay, we have little dogs. They're like, half the size of a football. Okay, those you've been following me for a while know I used to have my Doberman. And long story short, I said, "He didn't call. You have my phone number. Nobody calls." Again, I said to him, it's the year 2023. Do we ring a doorbell and leave, or do we ring a doorbell, make a phone call, and even send a text message? Nope. He left. So I'm waiting there. I think by the time I called them, it's 4 o'clock, because I'm like, where is this guy? So, okay. I'm like, this is 2 days in a row you guys fucked up. So here we go to Sunday, and they give me a much bigger window of when somebody's coming. They can't give me a 2-hour window like Saturday. So it's 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Super Bowl Sunday. So Sunday, I'm staying home all day. And I call them at 12 noon. I call at 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think I called 6 times that day. They're ensuring me that somebody's coming. I tell them I've been here all day waiting on you guys, 11 to 4. Well, guess what time somebody showed up Sunday? 9:15 p.m. because I had to call them at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. It was just a mess. My bad. They didn't show up on Sunday. We're in Monday now. They show up Monday at 9:15 p.m. So on Sunday, I'm so confused by all the fuck ups they made. On Sunday, I tell them, listen, I work all day tomorrow. Then I'm running my business. I'm not home till 8 o'clock. They're like, all right, we could do 8 p.m. Well, Monday morning, they called me at 9 a.m. to tell me somebody's 20 minutes away. I say, what are you talking about? I was on the phone with people for like 6, 7 phone calls yesterday. They said 8 p.m. The lady says, we don't do 8 visits after 8 p.m. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I'll get there for 7:30. I leave my gym. I zip home. 7:30, nobody. I call them. 8 o'clock, nobody. I call them. 8:30, I call them. They're like, we can't call the person. I don't know where he is. Da, da, da. I think they were not going to send somebody. They finally get somebody from 30 minutes away. He comes at 9:15 p.m. He's doing all kinds of stuff up there. I am not an HVAC specialist, so he starts talking to me about this thing's not working so hot. I tell him it used to work fine. He's using terminology. I go, look, bro, I'm paying you to tell me if there's something wrong. It was good until you guys did a checkup. Finally, at 10:15 at night when he leaves, he gives me an estimate to fix it. It's $1,700 and change, but because we're on the service plan, it's $1,400 and change. I tell my wife we should have gone with my buddy. I have a family friend, close family friend. I call him up. He's like, those people effing suck. He shows up the next morning, pokes around. It needs some sort of a light bulb. My wife orders it on Amazon. It's $100. He adjusts the fan for free, and he tells me he'll come back to do it for free. Okay. And by the way, I want to pay him. I want to pay him. Let's say he's up there for an hour. It's $150. So I get an estimate for 1,400 and something. So here's the confusing thing of the world that as a strength coach, you need to be able to handle is the Underground Strength Gym provides world-class performance training. And we still have people that as soon as they're busy, they leave. Here I am getting ripped off by an HVAC company, and I'm in my front of my mind, not even back of my mind, saying we need to raise our prices at the Underground. We do, because we have people that worry about $195 a month, yet they're driving Cadillac Escalades and fancy cars. Let's get my boy Brian Bott on here so I can end this rant and do some Q&A. Here we go, team. Hang tight as Brian enters the room. Brian, what's up, buddy? Here we go, connecting. Brian, you hear me, buddy? Oh, he's on mute. Ask to unmute. There we go. There it is. Brian, you hear me, bro? All right. I just ranted about something. I wanted to rant before you got on because you and I are in, the sports performance business. We're in the people business of serving people. And I shared a story about like dealing with an HVAC company that really blew it. Like I was locked up in my house waiting for them Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Super Bowl weekend. They didn't make it. They finally came Monday night, 9:15. And there's this analogy out there. You've probably heard it where like a small business makes a mistake and people will mother F you up and down on Yelp. McDonald's could ruin your order 20 times and you'll still go back.
Which they usually do. Right?
Yeah, it's a mess.
I agree because I think being a small business owner, I think people, they don't want to take on the big guys, right? When it comes to the, firing away at people. And so I think in the culture that we live in right now, it's a lot easier for people to be like, well, this guy has 10 employees. They got maybe a couple of this. So we're gonna try and cancel them. The funny thing is, Zach, I think what's happening a little bit more and more is, the old adage that any publicity is good publicity. You're kind of juggling that a little bit.
Right.
But I think if you're standing for the right things and people are trying to cancel you, that actually betters your business in some respects, because people are like, well, wait a minute, I've heard this about this person, so it makes people more apt to want to look at what you're doing when you have other people talking about you. So yeah, I think if the best thing is in a small business, be who you are. Be who you are, lead the way you want to lead.
Yep.
That's what we do. That's what you do. That's what I think people that really understand this do.
Yeah, I think strength coaches, I wonder, like, if you spoke about this with Tom Barry with the West Side podcast, but we just had Friday we did our NHS SCA state clinic, and predominantly high school coaches and phys ed teachers. We had a few private coaches, but they were mentioning, two struggles in New Jersey. Number one, the lack of full-time strength coaches in a high school setting and kind of the lack of resources. Number two, talking about, like, we see all these fancy places getting packed with kids. They do all this fancy stuff that's not really getting them stronger or getting them better, but it looks cool. What kind of training should we do? And I like what you said is, like, listen, who are you? Stick to what you stand for with your training philosophy. I see people thriving strength focused. I see people thriving speed focused. But what's interesting is, like, why do you think sometimes we see places, like I just said, like, we offer world-class coaching, and our training membership is $195 a month or $295 a month. And I'm always shocked when somebody wants to stop membership at $195 a month, $49 a week. And I think to myself, what it costs when I take my kids for tennis, baseball, it's way past $195 a month. So interesting why, like, we see some places pumping, other places not. My assumption is just the relationships within there and the family feeling, which I see you do very well.
Well, I think we're in a relationship business, right? You have to build trust in both your athletes and in their parents.
Yes.
And in the coaches that you work with. So at the end of the day, a lot of times it doesn't matter as much what you charge. And you see this too. You probably have people that charge less than you, but they're not getting as many kids as you because they haven't trust. I think that's a huge mistake that a lot of places make. They're like, well, if we just don't charge as much, we're going to go like kids. No, it's still a results-based business. And it's still a results-based profession. So if you're creating results, creating great relationships, and building trust, usually those things start to grow. I put a tweet out today. The best strength and conditioning program that you can run is one that all your athletes can execute. You know what I mean?
Take that a little deeper. What does that mean?
So sure. So what we're starting to see in social media is, like, all the fancy garbage, right? Gimmicks, things like that to try and draw clients. And we got probably one of the greatest compliments that I think my business has ever gotten, and that's from the guys at Westside Barbell, is that we actually show what we actually do in our gym. There's no, and because you can see it's repetitive, stuff like that. And so for us, that was a huge thing. Hearing it from people who do it at the highest level, and I've heard you say that to me as well. And so if you're showing exactly what you do and your kids are able to execute it, that's the most important thing. You can put the greatest workouts on a piece of paper or on a grease board. You can look up the craziest YouTube exercise you want. If your kids can't do it, the program doesn't work. And that's the most important thing. Can your kids actually do what you have doing? Because what I found is, like, especially with our younger kids, just give basic stuff. And I heard you, like, today on your Instagram. I loved what you put on your Instagram. Basics. We're deadlifting, I'm pressing, I squatted on Saturday, so I'm getting to the basics of what we're doing, but you're able to execute it. Like, it doesn't mean shit if you can't execute it.
Yeah.
Sales is sales. Okay, results sell.
Yes. Jim Carizzi, he was at Kennesaw State. He just got hired at Navy for football.
Yep.
I did a podcast with him years ago. It was a while ago. I think it was before COVID. So I said he actually trains very much like what you guys do. You'll see a parallel. And I remember, complimenting him. He goes, brilliance with the basics, simple things done savagely well. So I told him, I go, you guys squat, you clean, you jump, you throw med balls, but the execution is so flawless. It's not like he's not doing like one-legged med ball stuff, which I get it. You could do that, but I think sometimes coaches are posting stuff on social to get more views and likes and retweets. And then I look at it and I say to myself, that would never be top of mind for me to do with an athlete, some of that stuff. And so,
right. And
yeah.
So we had our monthly all staff meeting last night over Zoom. And that was one of the things that we're talked about is our social media. Show the stuff that our kids do that they can do.
Yes.
And which pretty much is an unlimited exercise library of things that we do in our gym, because we only put things in our gym that our kids can execute. So, some of our gyms, you'll see more Zercher squats than front squats or other things like that, because some of the kids are more well developed and they've been training with us longer, maybe in Beaver Dam than they have been Oconomowoc. So you're not going to see a lot of those higher level exercises yet because our kids just aren't ready to do them. And that's what I think makes our organization so unique is, yes, we have a system, the conjugate method that we use, but that's only part of the pie, right? And what we do, and it gives us so much variation. And Tom and I talked about that on the podcast that's going to get released in a little bit. But is that the misconception of the conjugate method? It's all box squats, heavy weights, bands,
you're right,
bands and chains. No, because there's a progression to get the kids to that. Just like for you, even for you deadlifting, there's got to be a progression to get the kid to be able to deadlift. You don't just have, yeah.
It doesn't happen like that anymore. You're kind of what you're talking about reminds me of a book out there called Live Your Truth.
Never read it.
Just the title, yeah. The title alone reminds me of Stephen Pressfield's Turning Pro. Like, just keeping his book out in front of me is a reminder of sit down, do the work. And yeah, live your truth. Look, I remember very often kind of like feeling as this, I saw the de-evolution of athletes and I started having to implement more of the speed and the change of direction. And I was like, do I really want to do this? And I start realizing, yeah, these kids don't play pickup basketball anymore. They don't run in the streets. It's a different kind of kid, and it is required to do that kind of training. But when I see people posting stuff that's so fancy, and then I'm like, well, is the kid even strong? And, I was saying in my video today, I don't have a bunch of kids squatting 315 or benching 225. And those numbers are not really mind-boggling impressive. But when you don't have a lot of kids doing that, those numbers right there will improve sports performance. My buddy Pete Arroyo, who I did a podcast with, wrote a book. And in the book, it said, like, how do you know when you've gotten quote unquote too strong? When your max lifts cease to improve your athleticism. If they're not making you better in sport, then you're training too heavy and you need to have a focus on something else. I've got some questions here that I didn't answer from a while back. And one of them was from you. They were when I do the Instagram questions. So your post, and I wonder if it's like, are you dealing with this, Brian? Your post or question said, why does consistent training win all the time? Are your athletes, do they struggle? Are you anywhere I listen to coaches, we're all hearing the same thing, which is the athletes struggle to be consistent. Are you guys, is that like something that you're struggling with or experiencing even moderately?
I think it's a sliding scale for that, Zach, is that our kids that have been with us and they under consistency, we have three pillars to success, sports advantage, and consistency is the first one. And when kids really start to understand that consistent training is really the best way to get results you're looking for, we don't struggle with it as much anymore. So, we have in-season consistency and out-of-season consistency. Our out-of-season consistency for us is a minimum of 4 days a week, for our kids.
Monday through
In-season
Thursday, right?
What's that?
Monday through Thursday, correct?
We do Monday through Thursday, and then we have our makeups, and again, you're dealing with high school kids and middle school kids, so you could be dealing with a snow day, which is what we've dealt with here in the last couple of weeks. You could be dealing with tests. You could be dealing with finals. So there's that sliding scale. We push them for Monday through Thursday because a lot of our kids do play travel sports and things like that. In season, consistency for us is minimum of twice a week. And so,
really?
Yeah, a minimum of twice a week in season. We still get kids that come to us. And
let me ask you a question on that, Brian.
Yeah,
our in-season program, I need to switch the verbiage on the website because I found that our best kids, instead of going to our once a week option, they just remain with the unlimited option, but their training sessions are shorter. They're 45 minutes. And then once we're in the last 3 weeks of their season, we're down to 30 minutes. And then right now I have some wrestlers that just finished the districts. They have regions this weekend. They train 20 minutes. They do a very short prep, and they might do hang power cleans for speed, and then speed barbell bench or speed dumbbell bench supersetted with some low rep rowing, and then they're out. And what's really cool is we had a kid that just qualified. He took second in the I have to find it. He won his, let's see what they said. Okay. So we had a kid that's a sophomore. He trains with us year round, unlimited. So the wrestling coach said, you got to live at the underground. So he said, the results speak for themselves. Michael lost 11-2 in the semifinals of the districts last year to the same kid that he just beat 7-5 in the semis this year. He goes, before his match, we told him, last year he was stronger than you. This year he's not. You are the better wrestler. And I was like, oh man, that is so, it just got me hyped up because I love to see kids who follow the system and then they succeed. I hate to admit it, but the kids who bail out, they tend to keep falling short of what they could have. And it's like, listen, bud, training with your dad at Retro Fitness or with your friends in the basement, it's not the same. I mean, I was just at the gym with my son on Saturday. He goes to a local gym. Then he trains with us once, maybe twice a week. So I told him, I go, you have to sprint, you have to jump, you need to compete against other kids. So when I was at the gym with him Saturday, I see kids, they don't get off their machine or bench. They sit on their phone in between sets. There's no explosive dynamic effort work. There's no real, when they're squatting, they're not going all the way down. They burn out with higher reps on their barbell lifts. So they're working, but they're training incorrectly. And it reminds me of all the mistakes I made as a kid.
Well, I think too, Zach, what you talked about is if you make that your primary way to train.
Yes.
I think that's kind of been a Twitter conversation over the last couple of weeks with strength coaches is that, should you do body part training versus performance training? I say you should be doing both with younger athletes, right?
Yeah.
But break it down really well when you talk about some of these kids just need to put on lean muscle mass. Okay. And so doing a bunch of multi-joint exercises as your only way to train these kids may be really good from an athletic standpoint, but also the reason some of these kids get hurt is because they don't have enough armor, especially in the contact collision sports, hockey, wrestling, football.
Lacrosse.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, soccer is a contact sport.
You know what I tell our girls?
Yeah.
I tell our girls that when I watch you play soccer, it's part boxing, part rugby, and then a little bit of soccer. I mean, I've seen girls uppercut each other and grab shirts. I watch
That's up
girls.
in New Jersey. That you guys are a little crazier.
I get nervous watching the girls. It scares
Yeah.
me. I've seen girls go for a header while another girl's going for a header from a ball that was kicked 30, 40 yards away. That's some serious impact. And those girls, you talk about body armor. I'm like, listen, whenever I watch a game, I don't catch myself saying we need more speed. I catch myself saying we need more strength and more body armor because of how violent and dangerous the sport is. And yeah, Mike Boyle, said something like that. It's hard to get context in Twitter. He said they
Right.
shouldn't be doing body part splits exclusively. No good. I agree with you, but bodybuilding has been always part of the West Side method with their repetition method that always follows max effort and dynamic effort. But the key is it's not just bodybuilding because I want to do arms. It's bodybuilding attacking weak points that will build up your performance. And I may have heard you say this, that basically in the weight room, the key to unlocking athletic potential from the weight room is to attack your weak points. I think you
Yeah.
said that. Maybe you
Yeah,
said it.
it is. That's why I think the conjugate method is the best, because when you fail in a absolute strength scenario, you can see where the athlete breaks down, and then you attack that. If there's, oh, I got an Amber Alert. Um, Sorry about that. But if you see, a kid break down in his running mechanics, or if they pull up lame, things like that, you attack the areas that break down. That's why max effort sprinting,
Yeah.
max effort jumping, and max effort training are the key. Also, then formulate the rest of your program around it to keep them on the field.
Yeah, I was thinking like if I see kids who, when the weight starts to get heavier on a squat, they start reducing range of motion. I say, okay, we're going to utilize a box squat to make sure you always hit the depth. We'll utilize dynamic effort to make sure you're explosive in a spot that maybe you lack power. Or I see you in sport struggling in the bottom of an area where you have a lot of knee and hip flexion. Then we might do extended range of motion split squats with, and lunges with that front foot elevated. That's like, you need to be intelligent as a coach. It's like you're a mad scientist. You're always assessing. That's why I love to watch athletes compete. What about this, Brian? Like, I'm sure you do it. I like looking at where they kind of break down mentally and emotionally. And then I try to implement that challenge into the weight room a little bit. Not a lot, a little bit.
Yeah, I think the mental aspect of competition and training is very important. Does a kid, is he able to handle submaximal loads really easily? And then when you put him under a maximum load, does he kind of quiver up because he maybe gets in his head, even though he can do what I mean? That's going to carry over onto the athletic, competition field. Conversely, those kids that you see that really can step up when the game's on the line, typically in the weight room, you challenge them and they step up. And so it's just finding ways to develop confidence in your kids. I think that's really important. That's a lost art in coaching right now, is that,
Yes.
Like the one thing that is a rule in our weight rooms that I, am in, like, I don't know if I can get this. I'm like, oh, strip the bar. You're not even getting underneath it. Like, if you have any amount of doubt in your mind, you're not taking a max effort lift. There's no way. Our kids know better too. So if they're even doubting it, they will not say a word to me, because we don't even give them the opportunity. Once that's verbalized, we boom, done. Because we don't want to.
I'm with you. So look at this sweatshirt from Elite. This has been a month, right? Prepare, perform, prevail. Preparation is what builds confidence.
So when we played, and I love that shirt, the 3 Ps.
Yes.
The 3 Rose Bowls we went to, and I'll text you, Zach, when we're done. I have the same picture 3 years in a row with the same shirt on in pregame at Pasadena, wearing that shirt. I love that. Yeah, from Elite FTS. I have the black one, and I actually have, I think I have a red one too, but I wore those. That was my pregame, mobility. We would stretch the guys pregame. That was the shirt I wore every day because my thought is if I'm stretching a guy, he's looking at those 3 words.
Oh, wow.
So there's the mental portion of it, right? That's why I saw that shirt and I was hoping we could bring that up. But that shirt, I wore that for years in the locker room, stretching our guys at Wisconsin, you know what I mean? Because they prepared, and stuff like that. So I think that I love that shirt, by the way. So
Yeah.
I'll text you that picture, one of the pictures.
Very cool. So I have like 9 minutes left before I have to put some chicken in the oven. I got to tell you, by the way, my son has like turned the corner and gotten like addicted to training, and it's building his confidence. And now he wants us making him, he always ate very good. He was a breakfast eater. He'll never skip his toast, his eggs and bacon or pork roll. But now I packed him chicken and rice for lunch today. And, he's going to eat it cold. So I got like now chicken to make. So I'm looking at these questions, and people sent me questions through Instagram. Let's try to tackle, let's see. This is a good one, kind of to follow up. You and I are both with the NHS SCA. I think guys like you in the NHS SCA, it's so awesome. And we had a great one on Friday. We have a lot of work to do, though, here in New Jersey. So this question, what do you think it will take for more high schools to employ paid strength coaches? So I know that Sports Advantage is in, I believe, 2 private schools. What does Wisconsin look like in the public schools? Do they have full-time strength coaches?
They do not, and that's another thing. It was interesting, one of the questions I was asked is what is the biggest mistake in high school strength and conditioning? And to me, the biggest mistake that high schools are making, and I think we've probably talked about this, Zach, either on another podcast, is that they invest money in the equipment and they don't invest money in the knowledge. If you are a high school athletic director, coach listening to this, invest in the people first, build your system, and then when you have the funds, build your elaborate weight room. That is the biggest mistake that these coaches are making. And in Wisconsin, it's we have some really good places that build really good systems, and then we have others that are looking to build. They're getting referendums. I just got a message from it's actually a high school athletic director, but they oversee 3 schools within their city, and they want to utilize our consulting service, and they're like, we want to invest in building systems, and then you can tell us how to build the weight room. Awesome. And I'm like, that's how it should be done.
That's a public school.
That's a public school, So,
yeah. Here's what's interesting is I think that we need more administrators getting involved with the NHS SCA. Also, NHS SCA is going to release their certification at the National Convention, NatCon, which is late June. I think that eventually that's going to become the standard, just like CSCS or CSCCA is for the collegiate level. I believe eventually high schools are going to realize this is a massive liability because high school kids have died under uneducated coaches. This is one thing that I wanted to I was going to, bring up to the parents of our athletes. So Friday, we held our state clinic, and a lot of our kids that are kind of doing, strength and conditioning at their school, none of their coaches showed up. And so to me, that's a red flag. Like, hey, man, this was a great opportunity to get educated. And your son's coach, who's running the weight room, and now you don't train at the underground, didn't show up. So I always say, like, how can I expect our athletes and say, I need you to do better. I need you to keep getting better with nutrition, lifestyle, consistency. But then I do not improve my knowledge. So I'm good enough, but I'm telling you to be great. It's like, the horse is going one way, but the cart is trying to go, the other way. So it's a oxymoron essentially.
Well, I think, and this is something that I laugh about all the time, Zach, is especially in this, football coaches are really guilty of this. They'll go to every Glacier clinic, which are great. The Glacier clinics are fantastic. They'll go to their state clinic. They'll go to and all these are fantastic to go to. How many ways can you draw up how to run power? You can only run it a certain amount of ways. Right. How many ways can you run your 4-3? Can you run your 3-3-5? Like, you should be investing in the things that are going to make a difference in your program. The mental resolve of your athletes, leadership, strength and conditioning, injury prevention. That's where championships are won in high school. The best programs in Wisconsin invest into those other things. We had coach from Wannago High School, Mike QnA. They have one of the top programs in our state over the last 5 years. He's an incredible coach, and if we want to learn something about football, we are a site visit team. So in other words, he's going to go to University of Wisconsin-Madison and meet with the coaches. He's not just going to sit in a clinic, because as well as I do, Zach, you've spoken at probably thousands of clinics. There's only so much that you can share, and there's only so much that you want to share. You don't want to give everything away. You want to share enough that educates and things like that. And football coaches are even more guarded than strength coaches, right? Sometimes us strength coaches share everything. We're proud of what we do. Football coaches, like, if I'm sharing it with you, all of a sudden maybe you're going to figure out how to defend us, and then you're going to be able to beat us, and I don't want that. So I think invest in like the little things.
Louis would say, I'm going to share everything with you because I know you're not going to do it all, which I thought was really interesting. My concern is that we overwhelm people if we're sharing too much. The big takeaway in New Jersey was that our coaches needed to learn how to maximize training with minimal resources, old, outdated equipment, and an overcrowded weight room. So that's going to be my next focus of like education for our members in New Jersey for NHS SCA. So I got to shut it down now, Brian. I love having you on when we could kind of do this at the same time. And I'm just looking at these questions here, and we will have to pick up on this another time. So people, like last time we did, I encourage them to reach out to you for consulting. So private sector coaches can reach out to you for business and or training. And schools, administrators, coaches can reach out to you for consulting as well. And they could do the same here with me in New Jersey. And I think that what you said, I want to close out with that. That's how I got hired at my high school. The weight room was like a massive, like, tornado looked like it went through there. But our administrator, RAD Rich Carroll, said, I got the people in there first, because I wanted people that could run a program from a parking lot. And I am pushing for upgraded equipment, mostly from a liability standpoint. Some of our stuff has been breaking, so I'm a little like on the edge with that. And we have a very crowded weight room now, so it's like a quality problem, as Tony Robbins would say. I have one group a week with like 90 kids, just me.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, pretty wild. But I want coaches to reach out. I want coaches to get some skin in the game. So any last words, Brian? And I want people, of course, I'll link up the West Side podcast as soon as it's out. But any last words from you, my brother?
So, Zach, I would just say this, as for coaches out there, and this is something that we just had an open house, and this is what I share when I talk to parents, and this is what I share with my staff. Every time an athlete walks through your doors, whether private or high school, you have to remember that that athlete is somebody else's prized possession.
Yes.
So when you're making a decision on what you're going to do from a workout standpoint, should they do another set, you have to remember that that athlete is some, parent's child, and that is their most prized possession. And when you think about it like that, when you're making decisions in your weight room, your heart and your mind will work synergistically, and you'll always make the right choice.
We're on the same page. I always say the way I train and treat and communicate with the kids is how I am with my own children. So I don't train other kids differently. And you as a dad can also attest to that. What's the website for people to visit you? And of course, I'll link it up in the show notes as well. What website, or do you prefer Instagram?
So my personal Instagram is Brian Bott 23. Okay, my Twitter is @23botter, And then our website is www.sportsadvantedge.com. And you can then email me through the website if you want. Always great being on here, Zach. I appreciate you having me on. Sorry, my face a little red. I just did a deep tissue massage and the guy just rips me apart. He's Joe Thomas's guy that works on him, and my face is this guy just ripped me apart. So but I appreciate you having me on, man. I love chatting with you.
I love chatting.
I love the work you're doing. So, yeah.
Love what you're doing. Very inspiring. And note on that, coaches, take care of your health. Give yourself a break. Take care of your health, mental health, physical health, because you're so busy pouring into others. Don't forget to take care of you. So Brian, you're the best. I'll link everything up in the show notes, and I got to run and get the chicken going for my kids. Talk to you soon, my brother. Thank you, bro.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
Talk to you soon.